Okay, 9 o'clock my time. Let's get started. Welcome to Agent Upgrade. It is Tuesday, August 3rd. If you got my social media post and it said August 4th, Tuesday, I apologize. And if you join tomorrow, well, I apologize for the mix up. I do that all the time. We've got a really great, I think, a really great training today. And it's going to be co-hosted and hosted by a good friend of mine. His name is Stefan Yan. He's here. Hello, Stefan. And Stefan is our social media and communications manager with our EXP group. So he helps our real estate agents with their branding, their marketing, logo design, all that kind of great stuff, communication plans and business stuff. He is a super smart guy and definitely somebody that you want to listen to. So if you are looking to do social media posts on your own and you're trying to figure out like, how do they get the cutout, like how do they get people to float on the background without having all this stuff behind them? How do we do social media graphics and put my company logo on there? How do we do social media so that it looks somewhat decent? We've been using Canva for a long time. I think it's a really great free program, and Stefan's going to kind of walk us through all that. So I'm going to mute my mic. I'm going to leave you to Stefan, and he's going to teach you a lot of stuff. If you have questions as you go through, and you're probably going to have some questions, make sure you put them in the chat. So let's use that chat function and ask your questions as you go. We'll try and answer them. We're going to have time for Q&A at the end, though. We're going to have like 15-20 minutes at the end to do all the Q&A. Okay, so without further ado, Stefan Yan.
Thank you so much, Pablo. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to meet everyone here today. I'm really excited to teach you guys how you can level up your social media marketing, especially if you don't have someone to do that for you. So today's tutorials will be really simple and easy and hopefully very informative, and you're able to take something away and really grow and build your business. So question for the room, does anyone have any experience using Canva before? Feel free to just type in the chat box to the side there, just so I can get a sense of how many of you have actually used it before. Yeah. Yes, use it. Okay. And then just in terms of experience level, do you tend to struggle with how do you organize it? What should it look like? Is it more of a question of a design element? If anyone wants to let me know in the chat box there. Yeah, how to organize your social media. Yes. Starting to use it, but can be confusing. Okay, good to know. So today we'll kind of go through a little bit of everything. Obviously, this is kind of a beginner tutorial, so this will help everyone kind of get their hands into using that. So I'm going to share my screen here. Alrighty, can everyone see my screen? Yes, okay. So I can't see my chat box just because we're gonna have this guy right up here, but Pablo, if there's any questions, if you can just let me know if anyone has anything.
Sure, I'll keep an eye on it.
Thank you. So we're gonna jump right into Canva here. So for those of you who have never used Canva before, it is a free online tool that you can use to build your graphics for your social media and anything else that you need. So I find it to be a very intuitive tool. It is free, but there are the options of upgrading to a pro plan. Now, for myself personally, I have never used pro, and anything that you can do in pro, if you play around enough on Canva, you can pretty much replicate everything. So we're just gonna jump straight into creating designs here. So if you don't have Canva already, feel free to register for it. This is not by no means endorsed or sponsored by Canva, but who knows in the future as EXP grows in particular, that is definitely something that could happen. So right when you get into Canva, after you've created an account, this is what you're going to see. This is your homepage here. So right at the top corner, you're going to see create a design. You can honestly jump straight into that. So when you do click that, you're going to see a drop-down menu to the side here of different types of options that you can select for creating social media posts. In general, I always default to the Instagram post. It is a 1080 by 1080, which is a 4x4 square image. So I do like that because it is standardized across most platforms will be able to support that. Versus if you were to create it on, let's say, an Instagram story or something else, the dimensions may not fit for the social media platform that you want to use it on. So I always default to the Instagram post because it gives me the opportunity to share it across any platform. So we're just gonna open up that page there. So you'll see to your right-hand side, this is going to be your design panel. So where you're going to be able to drop and drag and create the image that you want to have. On your left-hand side, you're going to see the menu with templates. So you can actually search various templates that are out there and be able to rework them, changing the words, the text, and the pictures if you'd like, and coloring. You have your elements tool on the side here. This is for example, if you want to add a circle or any specific type of icons that they might supply on here. Then you have your uploads. So if you have any particular type of media that you want to upload, you'll be uploading that in here. So you can see here that I have photos of homes as well as our logos. You have your text box here. So if you were to click that, that's going to generate the option to include different types of text as well as a header, subheading, and body text. So this one we're going to be using a lot today. And then you have your more. In general, I do not touch anything other than the top 4 boxes. So if you find yourself diving into more, you can definitely do so. But in my experience, it's not really necessary. So to start off, I always like to start off, we're actually going to go the most basic route. We're going to start off with if you have templated designs already. So if you have a designer or someone who has supplied templates to you, or you have logos that are supplied to you, we're going to work with those right off the bat today. So first and foremost, the key to social media is that you have high resolution photos. That is very, very important. And everything needs to be clean, clear, and concise. The reason for that is because you have only 2.7 seconds to capture someone's attention, especially if they're scrolling through Facebook or Instagram. The reason being is because there are so many posts that are going to saturate your feed. So it's really important that you have a really high engaging design right off the bat. And it needs to be clean, clear, and concise because in that 2.7 seconds, they need to be able to see everything that they need to know. So really making sure that we're cutting back on the amount of information that is on there. So I'm just going to start off here. I'm just going to pick this house here. So what you're going to do is you're going to upload your media. If you're on your laptop, you're just going to select your device, and then you're just going to be able to pick whatever that image is, and it'll upload. For the sake of today's meeting tutorials, I've already pre-uploaded a lot of content, so I'm not going to waste our time with having to wait for everything to upload for us. So here's an example of a photo that I pulled off the internet, and right when I clicked it, it already automatically dropped into the box to the side here. So as you can see, if I click the image, I have the opportunity to be able to transform this image to whatever kind of dimensions I like. So you can actually grab the corner if you want to make it move, and that automatically changes the ratio sizing for you. If you want to change that further, you can actually pull up and down, and that will change the height and width. So I'm just going to reset that back to where it was. So I want to fill up this image with this house because I already have a templated design here that I'm going to be working off of. So I'm just going to pull this image out and just try to center it as much as possible. You also want to keep in mind as you're designing, what is the purpose of the particular post? So for this one here, this one I'm going to make as a open house. So I have a pre-designed template here that was already supplied to me. So if you're a part of Simone's group and you've ever purchased the full marketing package that we have, we do supply social media templates such as this, which you can overlay. So it's really important that when you're trying to overlay images that they're in a PNG format, PNG. The reason why you want a PNG format is because it provides you with a transparent background. And if you're working off of different formats, you're going to struggle a lot because you're going to have all of that background that you're not going to be able to get rid of. So in this case, I have this image that I created. It's already in a PNG format. So if you have the luxury of having that or having a designer who has that skill set, then you'll want that. So as you can see here, I have this kind of icon and I'm just playing around with it. I'm just stretching it around and I'm wanting to place it somewhere. So rules of social media and design in general is that you want to make everything stand out as much as possible. So if I'm going to be doing an overlay on this house, the person might not even be able to see the house. So that is going to be a problem for us. So I'm going to want to just keep stretching that, right? And it's okay if the full image of the house is not necessarily in there, because your purpose is not to necessarily sell them right at that particular moment, because you're utilizing social media as a driving tool to get them to either inquire about more or to visit your website, for example. So you can see here, I stretched this little template that I had here, and I'm going to start working off of this as an overlay. You can also recreate this in Canva if you like, but I'm just, we'll get to that as the next step. So if you have the luxury, this is what we're working off of. So you can see I kind of have a little overlay on top of the house here, and I'm just going to jump right in and start inserting information. So I'll probably want to start off with EXP. So here is a logo that I've already pre-uploaded. Again, I click it and that's going to populate into the box to the side here. And again, you can drag it however you like. Having negative space in the background, meaning you have a clear blank slate without a lot of either imagery, lines, or anything going on, is key to the success of your information showing. Because you can see here, if I didn't have that, the EXP would get lost. So if you're doing an overlay on top, make sure you have a lot of negative space. So I'm just going to plop the EXP in there, and I want to start filling this page up with information. As you can see here, as I was dragging things around, you can see lines start to populate. Utilize those lines. Those lines are going to help you center your image. So you can see here, I have that pink line coming through the center. So that's telling me the EXP is aligned to the center of the image here. But it also is telling me that my background overlay is off the mark. So I just need to pull that over and it'll snap it into place for me. Then I can start to move on and fill this information. So we have the header and subheader. Those are the two that I typically stick to. So I'm going to click add a heading. When I click that, you can see it adds the add a heading text box in the center here. So I'm just going to type right away in here, and I'm just going to say open house. But our text is kind of getting lost because it is black. So we want to change the coloring format here. So when you're creating your social media posts, always try to use the color palette of the image behind you, unless you have branding guidelines that specifies otherwise. So just something to keep in mind. So I'm just going to click the text color here. It's pretty easy to spot. It's the rainbow colored A. You're just going to click that and you're going to be able to collect different colors. So the easiest thing for you is just to stick to black and white. I usually prefer to stick to black and white for my text just because it is the most basic and neutral. So it allows you to be able to place it on top of any colored background that you have. Another really great thing about Canva is that when you insert photos and images, it will already auto create a palette for you based off of the images that you've put into the graphic. So you can see here the kind of purple and pink color scheme has auto populated because I've inserted that image there. And then as well as the overlay. So you can see the white and that orange color format came up there. So I've already adjusted it to white. That's what I want. But now our text size is too big. So if we go to the top here, I'm just going to highlight it. You can see that you have your font sizing here. And you're just going to manually adjust that. It is kind of big, so I'm probably going to start off with the 60 because 75 seems a little bit big. 60 is a little bit too big still, so I'm going to go down to 40. So 40 fits within the kind of box frame that I have there, but I want to increase that size. So I'm just going to bump that up slightly. I think 46 looks about right for this particular image here. And then you just want to play around with the centering in order to make sure that that is going to fit evenly in terms of spacing. So the space above and the space below, that will give your whole entire image a symmetrical look. So I'm just going to bump that down. There we go. And you obviously want to brand with your particular name. So if you have the luxury of having your own particular logo, then I definitely would just pull that through and then utilize that. So in this case, for example, I'm on the Simone's team, so I'm just going to pull her logo right into the center. And again, I'm using all of the different lines that are coming up to help center my image for me. And that will snap it into place. So this is one of the easiest kinds of posts that a lot of people can do. You can also re-replicate that. So for example, let's say you did not have this background image supplied to you already. You can remove that. And I'm just going to pull these guys down to the bottom. And I'm going to recreate what we just did. So in your elements box here, you're going to have different shapes. I like to play with the shapes a lot. So I'm going to use the rectangular box here. I'm going to click that and it's going to auto drop a box in there for me. And you can just recreate that. So you're going to change the dimensions of the shape for yourself. So I want that to be square in the center. But then the problem that we run into is that the box is going to be solid here and we want that to be transparent. So if you click on the box, you're going to be given options to adjust the position, recopying the style, and changing the transparency. So if that's something that you want to do, you'll just click the transparency box here. And right now it's at a max 100, which means that it's a solid box. So I'm probably going to adjust that a little bit. I'm probably going to bring that down to a 60. And right now it's going to show up as this box here. That's not necessarily the box color I want because it's kind of fading into the background. I really want that box to pop. So either you can go a darker color and use white text over top of it, or you can go inverse. So you can see instantly the color of the white text has popped better for us. Feel like it's still a little bit light, so I'm probably going to adjust that to a maybe 65 there, so that way the contrast fits better. So everything that you're doing, you want to consider your contrast. Light on top of dark or dark on top of light. And I want to adjust the size of this box here. So if you don't have the pink lines showing up, an alternative is you can click your image, whatever it is that you want to position, and you're going to click position. When you click position here, you're going to be given the option to move the items around. For myself, I want it to be right in the center. So I'm going to click that. And you can see when you clicked it, it automatically moves it there for you. So positioning is really important there for us. And again, we want to replicate some of those lines to the side. So I'm just going to click either the rectangle box or the line. I like to use the rectangle because I want it to be a little bit thicker and not as thin as a line. So I'm just going to go in here and I'm just going to adjust those lines for us. Oops. And again, it's a lot of playing around with, and you're just trying to see what works best for the placement of your image. And you can see here that if you're on a Mac, I use Command C. That will create a copy for you. Otherwise, you can right click and copy and paste if you want to duplicate anything. So I've gone ahead and I've copy and pasted that. And I want to change those colors. So I want maybe to go a brighter yellow. If you had that previous image, you would be able to just play off of those, that template that I had, you'd be able to play off the color palette that's there. And if you want it to be more specific, you can add a new color and play around with whatever kind of color you want. If you want lighter or darker, and you're just going to pull it across the spectrum here. And again, I want to put another box because I want to put in my logo. So I will drag and drop another rectangular box here. So you can see here, I pulled this rectangular box after I had created these yellow lines. So now it's above, but maybe I want to move it behind. You're just going to select the image. And again, when you go into position, you have the opportunity to move an item to the front or to the back. So right now it's in the very front because it's layered based off of when you add things in. So this is the latest image that I've added in. So it's the most to the front. So I want to move this backwards. So I'm just going to click backwards. So I clicked it once and it moved it behind the latest element that I had. And if I click it again, it's going to move it behind the previous element. So you can see here that I've been able to move it back, and I want this to pop, so I'm going to do white. And I'm just going to slightly adjust that to create some dimensions within my image here. And again, reposition that so I want it centered. Alrighty, and we can just repeat the steps that we showed in the previous graphic there. So you're going to go to upload. You can select your logo. The EXP logo has populated, and I can just drag that guy back in. I wanted to add my Simone logo, so I'm going to click that, and it has popped that in there for me. So on the most basic level, I'm just going to remove those. On the most basic level, you can see here how you can create very simple social media posts. So a lot of the time, most people will kind of tend to gravitate towards doing something really quick and easy. This is great. I look at this and I can tell that it's open house, who the person is and which brokerage they're at. Something you do want to note is all of your information, you can keep that in your descriptor because your graphic is just meant to capture the person's attention. So if you do have any descripting information, for example, maybe you would want to put the address of the house here. Well, that can easily go in the descriptor because in that 2.7 seconds, they may not have enough time. It might not be enough time for them to really read that and be interested in it. You can put it in there if you like. So what I would do is I would just increase your background, lift your title, go back into your text, and you can add your subheading. So again, you can see your subheading here, and you're just going to put in whatever. I'm just going to put street, city, and postal code. We're in Canada, so we're using postal code. If you're in the States, it's your zip code. And you can see here, I'm just changing the font size, and I'm going to change that color to white to keep it consistent. And there you go. Something else to note is when you're putting in text, the auto default font is going to be Open Sans Extra. But if you drop down this list here, it'll pop up on your left navigation bar here, a bunch of different styles of fonts. So if you have a particular font that you like to use, if your logo utilizes a specific font, you'll want to keep that consistent. So for example, if you're utilizing Sans Extra Bold here, I could just type in Open Sans, and that gives me the entire family of the font. So Open House is using bold. If I click the subheading, it's just using the regular Open Sans. So if you are looking at this from a design perspective and your text is starting to look really messy, it's most likely because you have a lot of different styles of fonts. So you'll want to try to keep it consistent. Always keep in mind the difference of using bold versus regular versus thin looking fonts within the same family and utilizing cursive or italics as well. If you like to use bold, you can always click bold. Keep in mind the bold that you'll see here is different than the bold that you can select as the font family, and as well as italics. So the bold and italics will only change that one specific file of font, but if you do extra bold, you can see that it looks even bigger than versus the bold of just having it as the regular Open Sans here. So make sure that you're just being consistent throughout your posting, and especially when you look at the greater image of your social media as a full whole. If you were looking at your entire feed, having consistency in your text is going to be very important for a clean, cohesive look. Because if someone was a stranger and they were to see the social media post come up randomly on their page, and they go to your social media as a whole and they see your entire feed, if you have different texts and fonts, it's going to look very messy to them. So as best, try to stick to one that really works for you. In general, I like to stick to a bold, simple, clean font when I am typing text into social media. Just because cursive can be a little bit harder to read and it can make it look a little bit more messy. So at the base front, this is the most basic, simple way that you can go. And when you're done creating your post, what you're going to do is, if you look at the top corner hand here, you'll see download. You can click download here, and you're going to be given a bunch of different options here to download. I always like to go for PNG because it is the highest quality image file. If you're trying to upload the image somewhere and it doesn't supply PNG format, JPEG is the next most consistent. If you're creating brochures and those kind of things, obviously PDF print here. So I'm just going to click download this, and this is just going to download that straight to my desktop there. You'll tend to get a pop-up screen here if you want to start a free trial. I've never used a free trial, but you can definitely go ahead and do so. So I'm going to start from scratch here. Let's say you want to have a little bit more fun with this. You need a little bit more information aside from just a really flat, basic template.
Hey, Stefan, can I just interrupt you for a sec?
Yeah,
so
go ahead.
When somebody creates something like that, can they save that as a template? Like say they're going to do an open house next week, etc.
Exactly. So if you go back into your home here, you'll see all of your designs. If you click that, you'll see all of the recent designs that you have made. So it'll generate it for you and it'll save it for you in the future. So if you want to save that particular template for the future, it'll automatically save it there for you. And then if you need to create something different, you're just going to go back to create a design. Does that clarify that, Pablo? So again, we're going to start off with a blank template here if you want to make something a little bit more high level. So I'm going to start off with the same thing that I did before. I'm going to just upload images and I'm going to start dragging and dropping images in there. So for example, let's say I'm going to use this house that I pulled in here. And I just want to, maybe in this case, I want more information and I don't want necessarily the full house to take up the full entire side of the image. So I'm going to just start dragging and dropping images into this. For this particular example, I'm going to maybe want to include photos of the interior here. So maybe I want to play around with the sizing, and I'm just going to start inserting the different images here. So you can see here, I've clicked 3 different images of an interior, and I want to just start playing around with that a little bit. And I'm going to be dragging it because I kind of want consistency in my images here. So you can see here, I have these 2 blocks that I've created, but the photos are different sizes. So I'm just going to kind of manipulate the photos a little bit in order to make that work. When I manipulate the photo, I can actually double click it. And if I double click it, I can move around that image so it fits in the exact sizing that I want to make it cohesive with the other images that I have. So again, this guy, I'm just going to drag it around and make it consistent with the others. And great, that one actually is a perfect fit. So you can see here, I'm starting to generate 3 different images. Maybe I want to pop them in there. And it's looking like it's a little bit squished. So I'm just going to keep playing around with that sizing. So you can see here, as I'm playing around with the sizing, if I've created something of a similar size, it's going to recommend those grid lines for me, and it's going to snap it into place because it can see that I'm creating very similar sized images. So there we go. I have 3 consistent images here that I can just play around with and manipulate. So you can see here as well in this particular image, there's the square in the background. That square usually is prompting you to, it's a recommendation of where to insert your text or images. as a focal point because it's giving you a border around. In this case, I don't really need to use that, so I'm not going to, but I'm just going to play around with these other images to make sure that I have the right spacing. So you can see here, now I've kind of created a collage of the different photos. You can also manipulate your background photo if you wanted to take up the full space. And you can just create borders. We went into elements before when we were creating those background squares. So I can go in there and I can create those squares. So I'm just going to drag it around and I want squares that fit this guy here. So I can see kind of the rough outline there. Oops, sorry, I'm gonna move that back. I want it to come to the front. So I'm just gonna click forward and it just pops over to the front. I want to change the color. I'm just going to change this color to white. And there you go. I framed this photo for us. And I'm just going to want to make that consistent across the board here. So I'm framing our image because I want it to stick out. I don't want it to get lost in the background. Once I've kind of had a rough shape that I think I like, I'm going to duplicate it because I have 3 other photos here. So I'm going to just click and I'm going to copy it and paste that. Copy, paste. So here, if you're trying to copy and paste, I'm on Mac again, so it's telling me this is my shortcut. So I'm going to Command C or Command V to copy or paste. And I've duplicated it twice here. You can also manipulate the boxes here if you need to change the sizings to them, but because I'm not changing them, I'm just going to keep it as is. I'm going to bring the photos to the front. And I'm going to make this one come to the front as well. And bring it to the front. And now I'm just going to move my images across. Again, making sure every step of the way I'm aligning. Symmetry is really important when you're designing your graphic. Alrighty, so you can see here I've kind of done a little sneak a peek of what the interior looks like. If anything, I probably would want these a little bit smaller. So if you're on Mac, you can always use your Command select function or shift function, and you can multi-select different layers. So I'm going to select the 2 layers here. And I can just drag and change the sizing for that image. And I'm just making everything consistent every step of the way. Okay, so now that I've kind of gone in and I've reworked kind of the balancing of the photo to make sure that everything is in alignment, then you can start to move on to adding your text in if that's something that you want to do. Center. Okay. So now I want to maybe add some text in here. I'm going to maybe do an overlay over the top of the sky here because I want to have it say that this is an open house. So I added my rectangular tool in here. I'm going to go into my colors and I'm going to select the appropriate color that I want. Maybe I want it to look a little bit more fancy. So again, I'm going to do maybe a little bit of a transparency there. So let's say I'm going to set that to 60%. And then I'm just going to add my text box in again. I'm going to start with my header. I'll click that and I'm just going to write open house. And just drag that drop in there. So again, another really simple design of how you can start to play with different information in here. And if you wanted to, you could add your subheader and then you can type in the address. So your street, the city, and postal code. And then there's your post. Again, you can download this and that image should come through. Now, if I really wanted to play around with an image and make it as fancy as it could be, I could go back to my upload. I want to go back to this guy here. I really like this particular photo. And maybe I don't want it to fill the entire screen, but maybe I want to have more fun with it. So I'm just going to play around with it here. I think this kind of looks fun. I want to include a little box. Maybe I'm going to stick that box up here. So I've just kind of connected the pieces to here. So if you want to do more of a gridding collage style format, you always want to just make sure your pieces are connecting. I'm going to add in another box here. Maybe I want something at the side, because maybe I want to have a header at the top there. So I've changed that coloring. Now what's nice is I want to play around with this color palette a little bit. So maybe for the top box, I want to go lighter. And I started to build this. So now, once I kind of have my base background, I'm going to go back in and I'm going to start overlaying it once again. So maybe in this particular graphic, I want to have the EXP logo right at the top corner. I'm just going to change that size, and I want it to fit nice and snug there for us. So it's starting to come together. Maybe I want to do another open house. I'm going to go back into my text, do a header, open house. I'm going to drag that up. I want that to be right in the center. And maybe I want to have more fun with this. I'm not even going to do a space. I'm going to have it one word. And maybe I'm going to go in and I'm going to change the coloring to this one to, let's go back to lighter purple. So you can see here, I'm balancing the coloring by going, if I have this little box color here, I kind of want it to be symmetrical. So although I don't have another box in the top corner, I can supplement that by having another element on the other side of the image that has that same coloring format. And then let's say I want to add in a little text. I want to say, find your dream home. I'm going to put that in there, and I'm going to change that font sizing. I'm probably going to go to about a 40. The coloring is quite dark. I'm going to go to white. You can see that I've changed the text coloring, and I can manipulate this as much as I want. So I'm actually going to do this at a 90 degree. I want it straight up and down, and I want that guy to fit right in here. So it's a little bit big. I'm just going to play with my font size. Make that a little bit smaller, probably about a 30 it looks like. And I'm just going to center that. Looks about right to me. And then I'm going to want to start to fill in information at the bottom. So I'm just going to add another heading, and I can say contact for more information. So you can see what I'm doing right now in this particular graphic is this one has a little bit more information, but the reason for that is because that is my why of the post. Before, it was just meant to be an attraction kind of grabber with the other ones that we were doing, but this one is meant to be a conversion tool. So I'm creating a call to action here by saying contact for more information, because that's what I want the person to do. I want them to contact me. So I'm just saying contact for more information. I'm going to center that with the rest of the text here. So again, you can see the line that was coming up right here. Again, follow the lines as much as possible. That'll be a really easy, simple guide. And I'm going to do a subheading. Oops. So I'm adding a subhead in here, but just because it's a subheading, don't be confused. It does not mean that it needs to be smaller than your heading. I actually want this one to be bigger. 555-555. This is the phone number. So call 555-555-555. This is really making it loud and clear that if they want more information, this is the phone number. So call me at this. That is me creating my call to action, and I want to brand it. So that's always very, very important. We all know that our branding is super important to everything that we do. I'm going to grab my Simone logo, and I'm just going to copy and paste that. I'm just going to fit that right at the bottom corner there. Great. Now we have a really cohesive image here. From color palette to text and font, it all looks cohesive. So this is kind of the format that we want. If anything, I might want maybe my house to be a little bit bigger and less of the background. So I'm just going to pull this guy up, still making sure that I'm aligning everything. And maybe I just want to add a little rectangular box there in the background behind that text. And I'm going to turn this to a white text box. That house is nice front and center. And again, you can see that having a high resolution photo is key, because when we download these photos and we upload them to social media, depending on the social media platform, for example, Facebook, it actually automatically reduces the resolution of your photo. So the quality automatically decreases. So as much as possible, you want to have your photos saved in high quality. And the best way to start is to have high quality images of your homes. So if I go to my desktop.
So sorry for the silly question, but when you download something, is that saving it?
Yes.
So when you download something, it kind of saves it into a design that you've done in the past, right?
Exactly, correct.
Okay.
So all of those should have been saved, and then I can actually go to my desktop here. Sorry, I'm just doing that off to the side here. Let me go back. So if I wanted to upload that media into a social media platform, let's say I'm going to go to, let's go to Facebook here. And I wanted to upload something to Simone Rousseau, social media. And I want to create the post. I want to create the post from my page. You can see all of the different saved files that I have here. So I'm just going to click the last one. And there you go. Your post is up and ready to go. Clean, simple, and clear. And this is where you would write your descriptor. So open house for whatever. Open house showing at, insert your address. Don't forget to add in any other additional information that you want. Contact. And your hashtags. And all you need to do is post, and your posts are up and good to go. Obviously, I'm not actually going to post that. So that looks to be about our 40-minute time frame.
Stefan, one of the questions that kind of came up there was about organizing. So, you know, hopefully to answer that question, it's about like organizing where you put your uploads. Is there a way to organize the uploads, or, you know, how would you organize Canva?
Mm-hmm. So on Canva itself, there isn't a way to actually organize specifically the photos that you drop in there into your media folder. So if I go, and I'll share screen again. So if I go back into my Canva in the uploads folder here, it'll kind of just drop everything in. It'll sort it for images, videos, and audio for you, but it won't do it any other way other than that. So you can just see I have the library of all my different photos. But in general, you'll find yourself, once you do plop in your most consistently used images, for example, your logos, those will always kind of be there. Everything after that will probably most likely just be photos of your houses or other interiors that you're putting in there.
Okay. One of the questions that we have here is about how can you post it directly to Instagram with other pictures?
Posting it to Instagram with others. So you want to do a collage of photos. I assume that's what the question means.
I would assume so. Yeah.
So it would be photo one and you swipe left and you see these other photos.
Yeah.
So in that case, when you go into your Instagram, you actually can't post through the Instagram on your desktop. But if you go into your Instagram on your phone, I'll just have to show it this way.
Well, if you save this photo to your desktop, then you can, you'll just or you save it to wherever you can access it, whether it's photos on your
Exactly. So
iOS.
let's say I'm back on Facebook. So I'm going to use Facebook as the example. I know we were talking about Instagram, but if you want to multi-select your photos, you can just select as many photos. So if I had those interior photos in here as well, or if I wanted to do all photos, then I could just select all of them. And that'll manually pop in all of the photos that I want to have. So check out all of our fun and upcoming open houses.
And can that go to Instagram, or do you have to do a setting to make it go?
So it can definitely go to Instagram. If you want it to go to Instagram, you actually have to connect both of your profiles. So that's something that you would need to do on both applications. But yes, if it was linked, if both of your accounts were linked, all you would need to do is post on either Facebook or Instagram. I have a preference for posting through Instagram, and that will automatically cross post to your social media across whatever platforms you're using.
Okay.
I did forget to mention, if anyone is interested in cropping out photos, let's say of themselves, on Canva here, you do have the option to be able to do so. So if I was to, oops, didn't need to click settings. If I was going to create a design, I'm going to go back into my post. So if you're trying to upload any type of images, automatically here, there is a background remover that is available for Canva Pro. So you can purchase that in order to do so. But I don't use the Canva Pro. I actually use this website called photoscissors.com. So all you need to do on photoscissors.com is add in an image. Let's say you want to crop out your personal headshot. So I have one here for Simone. I've clicked it. If I see that everything here in green is kind of isolating her already, if there are parts of her that are not included in it, I can use this tool to just select whatever parts of the image I want to crop out. So you can see here, everything that is in green is showing up on this pane here. The checker in the background is your transparent background. So all you need to do is click and download. And there you'll have your cutout of yourself if that's something you want to use. So let's say on this here, let's say I didn't have the Simone logo, but I wanted to upload a photo of myself. I already uploaded a photo of Simone. So I'm just going to click, drag and drop her right in there. So that is the transparent background that I made of Simone earlier.
Perfect. I think that actually answered our last question too, that was on there from John. So that's perfect.
Good, I'm glad.
And I've also posted it's photoscissors.com, the URL. If you want a free one, if you know how to use Photoshop, you can do that as well. Or just pay for Canva. I mean, these are the tools that we have as real estate agents to do our job. So I don't know how much Canva is. It's like $5-6 a month or something like that. And if you're using mobile, like Alex mentioned that the Canva app on mobile is great too. You're right, on iPad, iPhone, or whatever device you're using. And if you log in, it has all your logos and everything in there already. So if you're on the fly, you can drag some of your logos onto images and post them that way, right?
Exactly. So it makes it really easy and convenient for you, especially if you're a one-man team or you can't afford to bring on someone who is able to do your design work for you. As you can see here, this didn't really require a lot of work for me, but I was able to create something that looks high level, and I could have played around with this more to make it even more engaging if I wanted it to. So it looks very clean. It looks like someone, and I did this in the span of 5-10 minutes, and this was ready to go. Question, would you recommend getting the pro subscription? I think, honestly, I don't really recommend it because I don't think you need it at all. I mean,
unless Canva sponsors us, in which case we highly recommend it. But since they're not sponsoring, no, I'm just kidding.
Exactly. So I would say I don't, it's not a matter of recommending, I would say it's a matter of, do you need the pro? And I would say you don't need the pro to make really great engaging content on your social media. Any other questions from anyone?
Is there anything else that people want to be able to do with their social media posts, or that they're confused about kind of creating something like this? Or where are you struggling? Where's the miss here? Where are you kind of looking at this and going, I still can't figure it out. I can't do it. And feel free, if you want, to unmute your microphone. Maybe Stefan, let's take the screen share off and we'll just be here for questions on this type of thing.
While people are thinking of any questions, I mean, it is pretty simple. As you saw there, I only used really less than 10 specific features on there. Mostly 4. I was using rectangular tools, text, and I was just uploading the photos that I needed in there.
And if you find that you're not quite as graphically inclined or design inclined as Stefan is, because he's really good at, just kind of like, oh, I'm just kind of put together these elements really quickly and make it look nice. And some of us might be looking at that going, I can't put 2 blocks together and make it look nice. There are some templates in there. So you can always go into Canva, start with a template, and you can even, when you go to the templates, and Stefan, you're going to show us how to do this. You go into templates, and I think you can even type in like realtor or real estate or open house or something like that. And you probably get a template that says open house, and you can just modify it, put your own picture. Am I right?
I will say that if you want to go and if you want to pay for the pro, most of those templates, especially the real estate, will be a pro feature. So you would have to pay for that. So I can type in the templates here, and you can see here are some example templates of ones that you can use. The crown will indicate that those are pro templates that you need to use, that you need to pay for. Something fun, I mean, if anyone really wants a more high level kind of design, something that you can play around with is animations. So if you want a moving photo or a picture, there's a big library here of a bunch of different kinds of images that you can grab and drop in and pull. And those ones, let's say the Black Friday, I'm gonna use this one here. So you can see here, it kind of moves, it's fun in the background. I don't want all this stuff because we're not a retailer. So I'm probably just gonna remove that, but you can see here, I can play around with a fun background. And again, the same elements apply, right? If I have a photo of a house that I want to use, then actually I have a photo here that works great. It has a green color palette.
Nice.
That in here. And that really just makes it a little bit more fun, and it'll pop. And let's say if I wanted to add, again, text, I could say, add a heading, open house. I want to change that to white. And I'm just going to move that to the top. Bam, open house. I can add another that says, DM me, DM for, I can't type today, DM for price. I don't know. That could just be an example of something. Again, the call to action is I want them to reach out to me and engage with me. That's a really great, easy way for you to generate your leads.
I don't know about you guys, but that's pretty cool. That's pretty neat.
DM me for price. And again, I'm just going to brand it. It's all about branding. Branding is very important. We all know that names make a difference. And I'm just going to pop the EXP logo right at the very bottom corner there. It doesn't even have to be that big.
Bam.
And now I have a fun kind of engaging post that seems like it technically took a lot, but this only took me 3 minutes, 4 minutes. So technically it seems like a lot has gone on there, but in reality it has only been a few minutes. And I've only needed to, I didn't actually have to do anything other than add in my photo, add open house, DM for price, and add in the logo that I already had in there. And then in your descriptor, once again, on social media, that's where you'll explain more. You know, I would say, love green, check out this house. Do we have any other questions from anyone? Any confusion about anything? Anything that anyone wants me to review?
Looks like everybody's good. If you have any questions, this is your last chance. Unmute your microphone. Otherwise, we'll let Stefan go. And I just want to, while we're doing that, just thank Stefan for taking his time to do this. This was really, really helpful. And I think a lot of people are going to get a lot of value out of this. As soon as the recording is available, I'll make sure that we do have a recording available to people. And yeah, this was really, really helpful. So go out there. Let's up the game on social media, you guys. It's all about being professional and presenting yourself professionally. We had a lot of people when we were selling real estate at a high level who communicated with us that the level of professionalism that we put forth, they said, you know, if you're putting forth that level of professionalism in this, I know you're going to do a great job selling the house. So the better your quality of graphics, the better quality of materials that you're putting out there, the more you're going to get engagement from your clients, and they're going to, it's just going to speak to your capabilities and everything. So if you have questions, you can always reach out to me later. You know how to reach me. And thanks again, Stefan. Thanks everybody for coming, and we'll see you next week, same time.
Thank you, Pablo. Thank you, Stefan.
You're very welcome.
Bye, everybody.